everybody, this is Sonya Wallace from Sonya's Quilts and Embroidery, and today I'm going to show you how to take your scraps, and I have massive amounts of scraps. I don't save every little tiny piece. I don't have the room to save every little tiny scrap that I have, but when I do make my custom quilts, when I have, say I have 1/3 of a yard left. If it's a fabric that I think would be useful in my applique, then I'll put that in that box. If I think it's something that I would not use in applique, then I go ahead and cut it up in about 3-inch strips. And I have, actually, my strips have gone down in the last few days because I have been using them on this. I've been very excited about using my string. So anyway, I have a large selection of, I have a big bag, a big shopping bag full of all colors. So I do tend to like to color coordinate, but Scrappy is also one of my favorites, where that you just, reach down the bag, don't know what you're pulling out next, and you never know how it's going to end up, and I do love those. One of my special quilts that I sell an awful lot of is my scrap quilts, and those are when I have a little piece left over. If it's at least 5 inches, I go ahead and cut it up in 5-inch squares, put it in a box, and save that. And when somebody orders a scrap quilt from me, I pull those 5-inch squares out, set a big pile of them on my machine, and just start sewing 2 together that's not alike. My scrap quilts, I am very OCD about my scrap quilts, and I do not like for there to be 2 pieces alike touching. And so I go to great pains to make sure that there's no 2 like squares that are touching. Okay, for this project today, we are going to need, you can use paper. I prefer to use this lightweight Tearaway stabilizer. This is 10-inch. It comes on a very large roll, and this one has been used a lot. So it would be a lot bigger roll. Excuse me, not feeling well today. But anyway, this roll is probably about twice this size. So, and it's like $20-something on Amazon. You would just search for a lightweight Tearaway, not lightweight, but just search for a Tearaway stabilizer. I think it may be a 2.5 ounce is how they do that. Anyway, this is 10-inch, and I like to use this because paper tends to not hold up as well. So anyway, 10-inch Tearaway stabilizer. And then I also use this 8.5-inch square ruler. You can also, if you don't have the square ruler, you can also lay that stabilizer on a cutting mat and just cut off 10-inch pieces and have a large square. And I am going to show you some of the large squares, but I like using this. What I usually do is fold up lay this on my stabilizer like so, and allow some little extra, and I'll start folding it back and forth kind of like we used to make the fans, but on a larger scale, and fold it back and forth several times. Lay this ruler on top of this, and then take my rotary cutter and trim it off. Okay, but like I said, you can put it on your cutting board and cut it to any size that you want, but I like that square ruler there. Alright, so a square ruler, a pen. You can use a pencil, you can use an ink pen. This Sharpie is just about done, so I decided to used it. And what we're going to do is I cut my 8.5-inch squares, and then I took my ruler, my long ruler, and I measured about probably about half an inch, half an inch off the center. It really doesn't matter how far off the center, half inch 1/4 inch, but you don't want to go from corner to corner. You do want it offset just a little bit. Let's see if you see that. Offset just a little bit. You don't want your seams to wind up on this corner, on this point. So first of all, what we do is we go to our machine and we turn our stitch down pretty small. That does two things. First of all, when you get ready to trim these, it's going to help with the razor cut or scissor cut, whichever you choose. It's going to help with that edge, and it's going to make it more stable. If you've done a lot where that you did a square and then you cut it down to size after you got it made, you'll know that if you use a large stitch, it tends to want to unravel at all those places. And since this will have several seams on it, I do suggest that you turn your stitch length down. And number two, what it does, it helps to perforate this stabilizer, so when you get ready to take this off the back of your square, it's easy to take off. Okay, so let's get started. Also, I have a ironing board here that my husband made for me. It has seen better days, but it's very handy to put on my machine because this is not a large project that this will get into the way. So you need to have your iron very handy for this project. But you can also set your ironing board up at table length, table height beside your machine, because you don't want to get up and down every time you have to iron this, and you do have to iron this after each seam. Okay, let's get started. I have chosen today to use these fabrics. And because now you can cut your strips at any width. It doesn't matter what width you do your strips. But since this particular fabric has got a pretty large bold pattern to it, I have chosen to cut my strips pretty wide for this. So that, because if it's got a pattern like this, then I would not want to, I want to see the pattern. And this is a spacey, and I can't think of the right word, but anyway, planets and that sort of thing. It's got a lot of pretty colors in it. It's got the turquoise in it. It's got the orange in it. It's kind of got a reddish orange in it. It's got black. It's got white. But the two colors I'm going to choose today to go with this is this orange. And this is not just a solid orange. I don't know if you can tell that by looking at it here, but it's kind of the variegated orange colors. And I think that looks really, really, really good with it. And also just a plain yellow. If you want to choose and be fussy about what you use on these squares, I do suggest that you take your main color and you color coordinate it with what you want to look like. You can also, it'd be pretty to add black with this if you want to do black, but I do not, since this strip is pretty busy, I would suggest that you not go with a lot of other busy fabrics for this. This fabric is considered a solid, but as you can see, I hope you can see, it does have some variations of oranges in it. So it does have a little more interest in it, a little more texture than say just a solid orange. Now I have gone with a solid yellow, and but this particular strip, I'm only going to do 3 colors on it. I will show you some more blocks at the end of this to show you how I pick my fabrics for it. But just have fun with the colors, and wait till you get the block completely done before you decide if you like it or not. I mean, because I have done some blocks and I thought, oh, this can't possibly turn out well. And then when I got done, it was absolutely gorgeous. It was really, it turned out really nice. All right, what we're going to do first of all, we've turned our machine down to a small stitch, and we are going to take the orange, and I've cut the orange, sorry, in different widths. Since this is only a 3-color design, I am not, I didn't cut it into a lot of different size strips, mainly like 1.5. There may be some 2-inch ones here, and I had a little accident with my spray starch over the Christmas holidays, So my fabric is very stiff. This blue fabric is very, very stiff. My cutting table. I was busy. I was trying to get finished, and I sit down at my machine and I heard a noise. Apparently I had done this thing and then walked out the door for a couple of hours, and when I come back, I sat down and I heard this noise. And I looked at my cutting table, and apparently I had put a brand new bolt of fabric, and it had rested on the top of the sprayer on a new can of spray starch, and that had ran for about 2 hours and puddled on my cutting table. And so the main one that absorbed it was this blue. No big deal, but I had to take it out and kind of hang it up so that it could dry and all that starch could dry. So anyway, it'll come out in the wash, as my mother used to say. So we're going to take our square and we're going to lay right sides together like so. Hang it off just a little bit off your square, not a whole lot, just a little bit off your square, just so that I don't tend to, unless I'm cutting strips for a specific length, I don't cut my selvages off. I don't use my selvages, but it's just not necessary to spend the time to cut the selvages off of these. We just hang them off the edge just a little bit. You can cut your selvages off if you're comfortable with that. But I just like to do this. This is the way I do it. And I just I get my right sides together, put it on my line. Let me move my camera just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. And we're just going to run hopefully my machine doesn't come unthreaded. Lately it's been coming unthreaded an awful lot. I've become an expert. I think I could thread it with my eyes shut. And we're okay, now we'll take our scissors and just cut these off. Make sure you don't cut them too short. Then we'll take it to our ironing board. Oh no. Fall apart here. Take it to our ironing board. Take it and just kind of finger press it open like so. Take our steam iron and open this seam up. And then we're going to I won't show that process again. Then we'll take it back to our machine. We're going to add a yellow. We're going to just finish off this side here. Add a yellow. Remember to hang it off just a little bit. See, that's what I'm talking about. My machine comes unthreaded an awful lot lately. I don't know if I've got some setting that's off or what the deal is, but iron that one open, and then we'll continue on this side. What I like to do while I'm doing this is I like to, if I start having these little end pieces, little short end pieces, say 6 inches and under, I put those in a separate pile. Especially as you get into your project, you'll see that you'll have a lot of little pieces. Put those in a little separate pile off to the side. And when you get to these, the short pieces on the sides here, just pull from your little, 6 inches or the length 6 inches and under, and pull those off to the side so that when you get to these, you don't have to pull out a long piece. You can just take your little short pieces and use those then. Okay, iron that one open. And as you can see, we've gone off the edge here, and that's exactly what we want. Even if you have, I mean, if you have I want to say, if you have like say a 1/16 of an inch poking out the end here, that's okay. You can take that up in the seam. But if it's anything more than that, you need to go ahead and cover that. So we'll turn this over, and we're going to start from this side, and we're going to go with yellow again. And this is what I'm talking about. I've got some little short links here, and this will work perfect right here. And you don't need to skimp on this. It does need to be plenty long enough. Oh my goodness, I need to figure out. I don't know if it's because I've cut my length down on my stitch length down so low that it's coming unthreaded, but I need to figure this out because threading a machine is not my favorite thing to do. Which there is a remedy for that. I know what it is. I tend to not use that. But I think I will this time just to show you what I'm talking about. Alright, let's cut this one off. And we'll take this little short piece, lay it off to the side. So that way you will, no I'm not, I'm going to use it for what I was talking about. Take your little scrap. Some people call this a rabbit. And what you do is after you get through with whatever seam you're sewing, put this under the machine and just let it sit under the needle. Clip your project, which my machine has a needle threader. A needle has a thread cutter, but sometimes it cuts it too short, and I think that's why my needle is coming unthreaded. Okay, so run that little scrap all the way through to the end, and then we're going to take a little bit smaller, a little bit narrower strip this time, and we're going to start on the other side. Just flip your project over. I have a lot of younger ladies, younger women, and some not so young that will come to me, and they will, you know, would like to learn how to sew, but they're scared. I've even had them to say, I'm scared to cut the fabric. Well, it's just fabric and thread. Most any mistake can be fixed. And, you know, in my lifetime of 40 years of sewing, started sewing when I was 14, and it's one of the greatest passions of my life is sewing. And taught by my grandmother and my mother, both grandmothers and my mother, and a lot of trial and error. And trial and error is what I've learned the most from. I've ripped out so many seams in my lifetime. It is absolutely, I've ripped out enough seams that if they'd have been laid out, I could have been to California and back by now. But anyway, that's just part of sewing, is to rip out your mistakes and fix them. And those are lessons that are that you learn, that you don't forget as quickly. And I'm going to cut my rabbit off the end. And I'm not coming to thread as often. Lay this one and iron it down, and then we have another little piece out here. Probably my yellows that I have cut are not going to be wide enough for this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a really narrow yellow. This may not look like a very big corner, but once you allow for your your seams, it's a lot big. It's a lot bigger area to cover than you realize. Tangle up. Cut my little rabbit off. Put it back under my needle. Clip this off and iron it again. That's why iron is very important, that you have an iron handy, or you're going to be getting up and down an awful lot of times. And I don't know about you, but I don't like to get up and down that many times. It's exhausting. You're sewing, you're absolutely exhausted. By the time you've sewn for an hour, you've had your squats done many times over. Okay, I'm going to take, let's see what I've got here. I had to go and help out my daughter and her husband Wednesday. I came back Friday, but their household had the flu. Sonya has not had the flu. And I have not felt well in the last day. In fact, I don't know when I've ever felt as bad as I did last night. But I did run a fever, very low grade. But I tweaked my back somehow yesterday. And that gave me a fit. Absolutely a fit. Okay, so we have this one done. Just one more iron and we'll have it completely done. And this is our block. Sloppy. Very, very sloppy. Very, if you have if you have OCD like I do when it comes to your sewing, this is absolutely against everything that you've ever seen or done because it looks awful. But if you can take your rotary cutter and your ruler and you can trim next to this, or you can take your scissors. But this is what it looks like when you get done. Nice and neat, trimmed, beautiful. Now you can take these and you can do sashing on the sides and put them together that way. Or, and I'm going to show you with some other squares that I think I will show you with some other squares I've got, because I've got a bunch of them. You can put these in the angles in different directions and make different patterns. But first of all, I'm going to show you how to trim this up with your scissors and how easy this is to take this paper off the back with your when you use small stitches. And also, since you've ironed after each strip application, you'll find that your seams are nicely pressed down. I would not use scissors on this. I'm a big fan of the rotary cutter, but I would not cut this on my machine. So just trim it up. And then have a nice square, and you can start at the end and kind of fold it down a little bit, and it just rips right off. Kind of does feel like a paper towel when you tear it off like this, but it gives you a nice base to work with. And it don't take but a few minutes. You can do all of your squares, and you can teach your children or grandchildren how to do this, or you can take this into the house when you get all of them done and trimmed. You do not do this until they're trimmed, but you can take these all into the house, and while you're watching TV with your husband, you can just sit and show him how to do it and get done twice as fast. Well, not twice as fast, but men tend to not work as fast. I think they're afraid they'll tear something up, or I don't know. Anyway, this is what all your seams are nicely pressed down. And from the center, from the first seam we did this way, they're all going this way. And then from your center seam this way, they're all laying that way, nice and smooth. And these are ready to do whatever you want to with them. If you want to, like I said, if you want to do a sashin, you could, sorry, you could pick out this turquoise. I would recommend that if you want to do the sashins, I'd recommend that you take this with you to the fabric store and just lay it against a few things and see what you find that you like. You might be surprised at what you would like this next to. Okay, now I'm going to show you a few other blocks that I have done. This is different shades of greens, and this is using 5 colors, 5 different fabrics. And I did use a solid, and then because this is kind of busy, but I picked out colors from this main strip, and I picked the black. The gray has got a very subtle polka dot on it. The green is a little darker polka dot. And then I have used different widths. If you can see, this is probably, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch strip here. And I just lay them in a pile on the end of my ironing board, and then I just pull them and just lay what you want to next to it, and see what you come up with. I've also got this square that I've done, and there's the square I was looking for. I call this more of a juvenile. This will look good in a little girl's room or a baby girl's room. This is what it looks like once it's trimmed. But you can go so many different variations. So many different. You can do scrappy. I don't have a scrappy one made yet, but the reason I got started on these, and I've been playing around with these, is because I made 400 quilts last year, and during that time it was orders constantly, one order right after the other, just nonstop. Just do one order, pick up the next order, do one order, and pick up the next order. And sometimes when I do that, I'm sitting here thinking about what I'd like to make. So at the end of the year, before I really get started on on my orders and getting all that done, I like to play around with some of the ideas that was in my head the whole year that I didn't have time to do. And so I pulled out of my scrap bag, and I found a project that I had done about 2 or 3 years ago, I guess. And I did a Lone Star quilt for a nurse that was retiring from the Veterans Hospital in Nashville, and her co-workers contacted me about making a Lone Star quilt. I had never in my life made a Lone Star quilt. And they had certain fabrics they wanted, and so they sent me the fabrics. Well, Lone Star quilts is something that taxes your mental capacity. Let's put it that way. That was a job. And so I actually cut that quilt out 3 times. And during those 3 cuts, I realized I didn't have enough of the fabric left to finish the project in the colors that they wanted. So I had to take the little pieces with me and go to Huntsville and find the fabrics. I had to rebuy it. Only rebought it once, because the first and second cut, I actually learned a lot. And so by the time I cut it out the 3rd time, I was an expert on the job. I was trying to cut out my strips for the Lone Star into individual diamonds. Now, anybody that's ever made one by doing it that way, in my book, you are a freaking hero, because that was a job. The best way to do it is to sew your strips together. You can do it out of 2.5-inch strips. I did mine out of 3-inch strips. That was a job, let me tell you. My husband came out to the shop one day, and I was sitting here with my elbows on the machine, had 2 hands full of hair, and he said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I can't do this." I absolutely cannot do this. He said, if there's anybody out there that can do this, you can do it. And I did do it. And I counted each, it has, of course, the Lone Star has 8 legs on it, 8 points. And I counted each 1 point. And by the time I multiplied it, it had 512 diamonds on it. It was gorgeous. But this is the fabrics I used. And when I was going through my scrap bag, anyway, get off track. And I found a whole bunch of these in the bottom of the bag, enough to do 20 squares, 20 of these squares. And they were all cut in 3-inch strips. So I took them back to my cutting board, and I cut them down to 1, 1.5, and 2-inch strips. So anyway, let me show you what this looks like once it's been trimmed. Absolutely gorgeous, beautiful square, absolutely beautiful. And I like techniques that you can take your imagination and just go wild with it. And I tend to take everything and go way, 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 way out there. If you've ever seen the Jelly Roll quilts, I took the idea, and the first one I seen, I think it might have been a baby quilt that I seen somebody do, and I took that and went with it. And I actually have made several king size using jelly rolls. Okay, and then what I was talking about in the squares, you could turn them in different directions. This is 4 of them sewed together, and because you have different size strip, I've not ironed this yet. You're not going to have, you have a little pattern here, and you do have a pattern, but your seams are not going to match up. So this is a perfect project for someone who is just starting out and don't have to worry about seams matching up, because all the strips are different widths. You just don't have that, and that's not what you're going for on this. This quilt has already sold. I posted pictures of the squares last Wednesday before I went down to my daughter and son-in-law's house. And by the time I got into the house to throw some clothes together to get down there as fast as I could to help them out, I actually posted a picture of this on my Facebook page, which I'm going to leave a link to my Facebook page down below in the prescription. Oh my goodness, I need to go back in the house and take some more ibuprofen. I think I'm losing my head again. But down in the description box, I'm going to try to leave a link to my Facebook page. So I have a portfolio on my Facebook page of over 1,000 quilts that I have made. And that was a lot of hard work. I've only been doing this for the public for not quite 6 years. And so to do a portfolio of about 1,000 quilts was a job. I mean, that was a lot of hard work and a lot of hours of sitting in a chair at a sewing machine. And also, in the description box, I will leave my address. If you have any correspondence you would like to send, any letters you would like to send, pictures of what you have done. If you're not high-tech, I'm not high-tech. That's why my videos are uncut and unedited, is because I'm not high-tech, and apparently the people that I know that are high-tech are too busy to show me how to do that. So mine are uncut, and you get what you get. And so, but if you would like to send any kind of correspondence in the mail, I'll leave my address down below. Also, don't forget to go to my Facebook page, Sonya's Quilts and Embroidery, and click on the photos and scan down the photos and look at all the photos that of the quilts. And I've not taken a picture of every quilt. If I do something different from what I've done before, then I'll take a picture of that. But just last year alone, I made over 200 t-shirt quilts. I don't take a picture of all of my stuff. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and like a thumbs up for this video. And also hit that post bell notification button so that whenever I have a new video, and this year I am going to try to post a video at least 3 times a week. Last year, I fell off. I got busy. But I am going to try to do 3 videos. Some of them will be on how that I do my appliques for my quilts. Some of them will be different quilt techniques. Some of them will just be something I may have made up. So anyway, But hit the subscribe, hit the thumbs up. That really, really helps. And hit that post bell notification so that every time I post a new video, you will get a notification of that. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed this video.